Snow fell gently outside the stained glass windows of the small church, candlelight flickering softly against old stone walls. Inside, the choir's hymns rose with quiet reverence, wrapping the space in a sacred stillness unique to Christmas Eve. Jack Carter sat alone in the last pew. His heavy coat was still dusted with snow, his dark hair damp. He wasn't a regular churchgoer. The last time he attended a service like this was with his father, the same man he had lost just 2 months ago. Tonight, Jack didn't come seeking faith. He came because the emptiness inside needed somewhere to rest. And then, he heard it. A small voice, barely above a whisper, rose between the choir's harmonies. "God, I just want a dad for Mommy, she's really tired." Jack furrowed his brow and opened his eyes, listening. The voice wasn't loud, but it cut through him like wind slicing through layers of warmth. He scanned the room. Near the front, a little girl knelt. She looked about 4, her messy blonde hair catching the candlelight. Her red dress was too big, the hem frayed. One boot looked older than the other, but her face was solemn, her small hands clasped tightly, her voice steady. "Not for me, God. For Mommy. She cries when she thinks I'm asleep." Jack's chest tightened. Something inside him, something long buried, stirred. Beside the girl sat a young woman. Her head was bowed, shoulders slumped with exhaustion. Her long, honey-blonde hair was pulled hastily into a tie. She couldn't have been much older than 30, but her face was lined with weariness. Her hand rested gently on her daughter's back, a tender gesture that made Jack's throat ache. He didn't know them, but in that moment they touched something deep within him, something he thought had long since gone cold. Anna Monroe left the church quietly, the same way she had arrived, without a sound, without drawing attention. One hand held her daughter's, the other gripped a worn canvas bag whose edges had begun to fray. The winter night was harsh, biting, but Anna wore nothing more than a thin coat she'd used through too many seasons. Lily walked beside her, clutching a crumpled drawing. A small house with 3 people, a mother, a little girl, and a smiling man she had labeled future dad. Jack remained in the church, watching their figures disappear into the snowfall. He didn't know why he had stood when he heard Lily's prayer, but something had stirred inside him. Not pity, but a deep, unexpected empathy he hadn't felt since his father died. Anna and Lily lived in a crumbling apartment complex on the edge of town, the kind of place people only ended up when there were no other options left. The walls peeled, pipes leaked, and the fire escape groaned every time the wind passed. But it was all they could afford with the meager income Anna managed to scrape together each month. Her husband, Matthew, had died in a construction accident 3 years ago, on a night shift he took just to help pay the rent. Since then, Anna had carried everything alone. Scrubbing floors at the mall, babysitting, washing dishes in a diner, and sometimes handing out flyers in the cold. She never complained, never asked why, never told anyone. She simply folded her pain into silence and turned it into strength. For Lily. Lily was the light in her dim world. Though money was always tight, Anna never let her daughter feel unloved. On late nights, no matter how exhausted she was, she still read bedtime stories. On rare good days, she bought pancake mix, Lily's favorite. But exhaustion crept in, even when hidden well. Lately, Anna had been dizzy, tired for days at a time. Still, she pushed forward. Because if she broke, who would care for Lily? To others, Anna was just the quiet woman who kept her head down, the one no one really noticed. But behind that thin coat was a world full of sacrifice and quiet strength that never asked to be seen. And Jack, the stranger from Christmas Eve, was the first person who truly did. Not because of how she looked, but because of the way she had rested her hand on her daughter's back. A small, almost invisible gesture that carried all the love and all the weariness of a mother stretched too thin. Jack stayed in the church long after everyone had left. The final candle had been extinguished, the choir's voices faded into memory, and only the wind now whispered through the stained glass windows. Yet inside him, that small prayer still echoed, like a message from somewhere far away, or perhaps heartbreakingly close. As the pastor returned to gather a few things, he noticed Jack sitting alone in the last pew. "You all right, son?" the pastor asked gently. Jack nodded. Do you know the woman with the little girl?" The pastor thought for a moment. "Yes, they come now and then, always quiet, third pew on the left. The mother's name is Anna. The little girl is Lily." Jack repeated the name in his mind, Anna. It sounded soft, kind, just like the woman he had watched from afar. "She's raising her daughter alone," the pastor added. "Doesn't talk much, but she's kind, gentle." "Is she okay?" Jack asked, unable to hide the concern in his voice. The pastor sighed. "I can't say for sure, but there's a tiredness in her eyes that's been there a long time." That sentence stayed with Jack as he walked back to his hotel. He couldn't sleep that night. He kept replaying the way Anna had laid her hand on Lily's back, a small, quiet gesture that hit Jack harder than he could explain. The next morning, Jack returned to the church grounds. He wasn't sure what he planned to do. He just needed to know they were okay. After a pause, the pastor gave him the address of an apartment complex where Anna and Lily lived. He'd once delivered food there during a church outreach. When Jack arrived, he parked at a distance. The building was worn down, paint peeling, windows patched with cardboard, the stair rails rusted, steps uneven. On a second-floor balcony, a child's shirt hung on a thin line, swaying in the bitter wind. He didn't knock, he just watched. And then he took quiet action. That afternoon, a roofer was sent under the pretense of a building-wide inspection. 2 broken shingles were replaced. The worst leak was sealed. A few days later, a bag appeared at their door. Fresh bread, fruit, milk, a thick wool blanket, no name, no note. That morning, as Anna stepped outside for the paper, she found the bag and froze. Lily ran to her, eyes wide with delight. "Mommy, maybe it's an angel." Anna said nothing, but her hand trembled slightly as she picked up the warm loaf. That night, Jack sat in his car across the street, watching the golden light spill from their window. He saw Anna place a small bouquet into a chipped cup, saw Lily cradle the milk like the greatest gift she'd ever received. He left no trace. He didn't knock. He didn't need to. For Jack, this wasn't charity. It was the first thing in years that made him feel human. The week after Christmas passed slowly, wrapped in gray skies and biting winds. The snow kept falling, not in storms now, but gently and constantly, like winter was exhaling. Jack Carter had no reason to return to that small town. No family, no ties, but he kept driving toward it, as if his hands on the steering wheel knew what his heart hadn't yet admitted. That morning, he stopped at a roadside gas station. Bundled in his coat and scarf, hands buried deep in his pockets, he quietly filled his tank, breath misting in the cold air. A small, worn-out blue car pulled up beside him. Its engine sputtered, coughed, then stopped. The door opened, and stepping out was the woman Jack didn't expect to see again so soon, Anna Monroe. She wore a faded gray coat, her hair pulled back loosely. She looked tired, just as he remembered, but her eyes widened slightly when she saw him. "Hi," Jack greeted gently. "Hi," she replied, cautious but not cold. "Pretty cold out." "Colder than I thought," she said, pulling her collar tighter and leaning over the pump. After a beat, he asked, "You live nearby?" "Not far." "I'm Jack," he offered. "Anna," she said, shaking his hand briefly. They stood beside their pumps, talking like strangers who felt oddly familiar. Jack joked about how gas pumps always froze up just when people needed them most, and Anna let out a quiet laugh. Just a small sound. But it made Jack pause. It was the first time he'd heard her laugh, and somehow, it felt like something rare and beautiful. A few days later, they met again, this time at the town's small grocery store. Jack was picking out vegetables when a high-pitched voice called out behind him, "Mommy, Mommy, it's him!" He turned and saw Lily tugging at her mother's sleeve, eyes wide. "You're the man from Christmas Eve," she exclaimed. "Mr. Snowman." Jack laughed and knelt down to her level. "You still remember me?" "I do. I drew you the next day. I named you Mr. Snowman." Anna stood at the checkout, hesitant, but didn't pull Lily away. There was something in her eyes. Still guarded, but warmer now. Lily chattered endlessly about her teddy bear, Mr. Cuddles, about the pancakes Mommy made on Christmas, and about the picture she taped to their window with 3 people in it. Jack simply listened, smiling at her unfiltered joy. When Anna finished paying, Jack offered, "Can I help you carry your bags?" She hesitated, then nodded. "If you don't mind." "Not at all." They stepped outside to the gentle sound of wind chimes. Snowflakes began to fall again, settling on coats and hair. Lily walked between them, holding a bag of cookies, still talking. Anna walked slowly, her expression softer. And Jack felt, step by step, something beginning to warm. Days later, they met again, this time in the town's old bookshop. Anna was browsing through children's books, flipping through a fairy tale for Lily. Jack walked in, not noticing her at first, but Lily did. She ran to him and hugged his leg. "Mr. Snowman." Anna blushed, rushing to pull her back, but Jack just laughed. "Do you like fairy tales?" Anna asked, half teasing. "Only if someone reads them with me," Jack replied. Anna didn't answer right away, but this time she laughed. A real laugh. No hesitation, no holding back. And in that small moment, Jack realized, sometimes, a smile is the beginning of everything. That afternoon, Anna was reorganizing shelves at the old bookstore where she worked weekends. Snow clung to the windows, and the warm air inside smelled faintly of old pages and cinnamon tea. It was quiet, just her and Clara, a college student who barely ever looked up from her phone. "Oh my God," Clara suddenly whispered, eyes wide. "Anna, you have to see this." Anna looked up, puzzled, and walked over. Clara turned her phone around. On the screen was a familiar man standing in front of a tall building. He wore a sharp suit and that signature half-smile. "Jack," the headline read. "Jack Carter, co-founder of multi-million-dollar software company, returns home for the holidays." Anna froze. She stared at the screen as if it had just betrayed her. Everything, the fixed roof, the groceries on her doorstep, the warm blanket, the flowers, the unsigned notes, rushed back into her mind. Every detail, every moment she had brushed aside. And suddenly, it all made sense. It was him, Jack. She could barely remember the walk home from the bookstore. Her thoughts were stuck on one word: why? When she entered the apartment, Lily was drawing by the window. She looked up, beaming. "Mommy, Mr. Snowman left a note in my sketchbook. He said he liked the picture I drew of him and you." Anna knelt beside her, brushing Lily's hair with a trembling hand. "Lily, Mr. Snowman's real name is Jack. He's not just a nice man. He's very wealthy, very important, and he's been helping us with many things." Lily blinked. "He helped because we needed help, right?" Anna didn't have an answer. That evening, once Lily was asleep, Anna slipped out into the snow-covered street. She walked the familiar path to the small cafe where she had once seen Jack reading by the window. He was there. Jack stood when he saw her. "Anna, you should have told me," she said before he could say more. He fell silent, exhaled slowly. "I know, but I was afraid if I did, you'd disappear. What did you think I was? A charity case? Someone to rescue?" Her voice trembled, part anger, part hurt. "No, that's not it. I didn't help you out of pity. I helped because you deserve better. You hid your name, your identity. You watched me from afar like I was some project, a test of your character." "No," Jack stepped closer. "I did it because I saw you. I saw how you lived, how you loved your daughter, how you fought quietly without asking for anything." Anna shook her head. "I don't need pity." "It's not pity, it's respect." She stood there, caught between the cold wind and the warmth of emotions she didn't know how to hold. For the first time in a long while, she didn't know what to believe. That night, the snow came down hard. The wind howled through the cracks of the small apartment windows. Anna sat by Lily's bed, gently stroking her forehead. Her daughter burned with fever, skin hot, breath shallow. The cold had come quickly, too fast for Anna to prepare. Jack arrived minutes after she called. Despite the words left unsaid between them, she had still dialed his number. She didn't even know what she wanted. Maybe a hand to help, maybe just not to be alone in this moment. He didn't speak much. He shrugged off his coat, washed his hands, and began quietly taking turns with Anna, cooling Lily's forehead with damp cloths. The little girl stirred in her sleep, softly whimpering, fists clenching her blanket. Time slowed. Between the silences and Lily's heavy breathing, they sat in shifts, wiping her skin, whispering stories to soothe her. Around midnight, Lily shifted slightly. Her eyes barely opened and a tiny whisper escaped her lips like breath on glass. "Daddy?" Both Jack and Anna froze. Jack leaned in, his voice gentle. "What did you say, Lily?" She didn't answer, just burrowed deeper into her pillow and clutched Mr. Cuddles tightly, as if afraid of losing something precious. Anna stood in the doorway, her hand pressed to her chest, as if steadying her heart. She had heard it clearly, undeniably, like a bell ringing in a still night. When Jack stepped out of the room to fetch another cloth, Anna met him in the kitchen. "She called you Daddy," she said, her voice quiet but certain. Jack nodded, emotion flickering in his eyes. "I know. And you stayed." "I'd stay every night," he replied without hesitation, "if you'd let me." That night, Anna stood in the doorway, the soft light from Lily's bedside lamp casting a golden hue over her daughter's face. Lily slept soundly, cheeks flushed from the fever, clutching Mr. Cuddles tight. Jack sat beside her, gently holding her small hand. He didn't know she was watching. Didn't see the way her shoulders trembled slightly, or how her fingers clutched the hem of her sweater, holding herself together, barely. A single tear slid down Anna's cheek. Not out of weakness, but because after all the years of carrying everything alone, something inside her had finally softened. She saw a man who made no promises, no grand gestures, only stayed. Quietly, steadily, without leaving. Maybe not everyone who's kind walks away. And maybe, just maybe, trusting again wasn't as terrifying as she once believed. The next morning, snow still fell as if the night had never ended, but something in Anna had shifted, no longer entirely closed. She didn't say much, but her eyes had softened, and the space between her and Jack no longer felt cold. Maybe, after everything, she was ready to take one more step. And Jack? He had been waiting for that moment with quiet patience. And on that snow-covered morning, he took her and Lily back to where it all began. That morning, the snow blanketed the town like a quiet lullaby. Trees sagged under its weight, rooftops disappeared beneath white layers, and the world seemed to hush, making room for something softer. Inside Anna's small kitchen, the scent of ginger tea floated gently as Lily hummed at the table, coloring in a picture of a family, a woman, a little girl, and a man with a scarf. Jack arrived just after sunrise. He wore a charcoal coat and a knitted scarf, holding a small, neatly wrapped box and a bouquet of lilies. His expression was calm, but something in his eyes trembled, hopeful, almost reverent. "You're early," Anna smiled, opening the door. "I have something I'd like to do," Jack said, "but I need you and Lily with me." "Where are we going?" she asked, raising a curious eyebrow. "Somewhere old," he replied, "but I hope today it becomes something new." They drove in silence. Lily bounced in the back seat, holding Mr. Cuddles. "I think we're going somewhere special," she whispered to the bear. Anna sat still, her heart a strange mix of warmth and nerves. Since the night Lily called Jack Daddy, something inside her had shifted, cautiously, quietly. When the car turned onto a familiar road, Anna's breath caught. He recognized the church? Jack. He only smiled. "Come with me." The sanctuary was quiet, just as it had been on Christmas Eve. No choir, No crowd, only the soft glow of candles and light streaming through stained glass, spilling colors like quiet prayers onto the floor. Lily stepped inside first and gasped, "Mommy, I remember this place. This is where I talk to God." Jack placed the lilies on the pew where Anna and Lily once sat. Then he crouched and held out his hand. "Come here, kiddo." Lily placed her hand in his, her eyes wide and glimmering. He knelt in front of her. "Lily," he said, voice deep and gentle, "do you remember what you prayed for that night?" She nodded. "I asked God to send someone who'd love my mommy, so she wouldn't cry anymore." Jack's voice broke. "You didn't know, but those words changed everything." He pulled out a small wooden box and placed it in her hands. "I want to ask you something first. Before I ask your mommy, Lily, may I be your dad? Not just today, but forever. For pancakes, for snow days, for bedtime stories, and every hug you'll ever need." Lily's smile was pure sunlight. "Yes, 1,000 yeses." Anna stood frozen, hands clasped. Her heart raced as Jack turned toward her, still kneeling. "Anna," he said softly, "last Christmas, I came here lost, grieving. I thought silence would help me heal, but instead, I heard a child's prayer. And I saw you." He looked up at her, vulnerable. "You held your daughter like she was your whole world, even when your own strength was fading. You didn't ask for help, but you gave everything." From his coat, he drew out a velvet box. Inside sat a simple, elegant ring. Nothing flashy, just honest. "I'm not here to replace anything. I'm here to build something new. Not from what we've lost, but from who we can become." His voice lowered to a whisper. "May I be your home?" Anna's tears flowed freely. She stepped forward, knelt, and placed her hand on his cheek. "You already are." He embraced her. Lily wrapped her arms around both of them, laughing, light and free. And when the church bells rang, out there in the soft white silence, something beautiful began. Not a miracle, but a choice, a promise, a family. 1 year later, the small town was once again blanketed in snow. The wind still blew through quiet streets, but in the hearts of 3 people, it was a very different kind of winter. Warm, complete, and full of peace. Anna, Jack, and Lily lived in a cozy little house not far from the old church, the place where it all began with a whispered prayer. The house had 2 bedrooms, a modest living room with a red brick fireplace, and a tiny kitchen where Anna brewed ginger tea each morning. On the living room window, Lily had taped her crayon drawings. Of the 3 of them, a teddy bear with a purple bow and a house with smoke curling from the chimney. Outside, snow covered the yard. Lily was building a snowman with her purple scarf wrapped around her neck, while Jack crouched beside her, helping her find the perfect branches for arms. "I think this snowman needs cookies," Lily said seriously. Jack laughed. "He's lucky to have a chef like you." From the window, Anna watched them, still stirring the hot cocoa on the stove. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. The sight alone was enough to warm her heart. A year ago, she had lived with exhaustion, fear, and loneliness. Today, she had a home, a partner who shared the weight, a man who listened, who waited, and who loved, without asking for anything in return. And more than anything, she had hope again. Their life wasn't extravagant, but it was meaningful. Together, Jack and Anna had founded Lily's Wish Fund, a small nonprofit inspired by that gentle Christmas Eve prayer. The fund provided temporary housing, food, and scholarships for struggling single mothers, women who had once stood where Anna did. Each time someone received help, Lily drew them a picture, and in every picture there was a house with a warm yellow light inside. "Because everyone deserves a home," she said. That Christmas Eve, the 3 of them walked hand in hand back to the old church. The building looked the same, worn stone, colored glass, and flickering candles at the altar. Lily stepped inside softly. She glanced around, then ran to the same wooden pew where she once knelt. She sat, folded her hands, and whispered, "Thank you, God, I got a daddy for Christmas." Anna squeezed Jack's hand. He turned to her with a quiet, wordless smile. No tears, no hesitation, just the kind of stillness that only comes when everything is finally where it's meant to be. Outside, the snow kept falling, but inside, the candles still burned, and within their hearts, something beautiful had come full circle. The following spring, a soft breeze danced across the porch, carrying the scent of blooming jasmine. Lily lay sprawled on a blanket in the yard, reading a story aloud to Mr. Cuddles, while Jack painted the worn fence in the corner. Anna sat in a wooden chair nearby, her hand resting gently on her belly. Her growing belly, quiet and round, was a gentle promise of something new, something beautiful blooming inside her. The baby was a gift they never expected, but its presence now felt like the final piece, a quiet joy, completing something already full. Lily had squealed when she heard the news. "I'm going to be a big sister," she shouted, spinning around the room like a tiny whirlwind. "I'll share my dolls, and I'll teach them how to fold paper planes. Mommy, do you think the baby likes purple?" Jack had scooped her up. "I'm sure the baby will be lucky to have such a wonderful big sister." Anna laughed, tears sparkling in her eyes. Love no longer felt like something distant. It was here, everywhere, in laughter, in embraces, in every gentle glance. That evening, they sat together by the fire. Lily gently placed her hand on Anna's belly. "Hi, baby," she whispered. "I'm Lily. I'll always be here." Jack placed his hand over theirs, and in that quiet moment, no one said a word. Because in that stillness, they were already a family, complete just in time, and growing stronger with every heartbeat. Some prayers don't come with thunder. Sometimes they're just quiet whispers on a cold winter's night. But the beautiful thing is, sometimes those whispers reach the right heart at the right moment.